So we want to check if the player exists. So we need an if block in here. And before we shoot me away, we're going to check if the player exists. And there's a block just for this from sensing. Myself exists inside sensing. And then instead of checking if myself exists, we'll check if first instance by tag player exists. So we can duplicate that. Put that in there. Now let's test it out. Make sure that error doesn't happen. Very good. And the next thing we need to solve is actually making the spacebar shoot more projectiles. So we'll go and do that. Now we don't want the original projectile to be shooting itself away, so we'll just make sure when the level starts that it makes itself invisible and disables its own physics, so it's not going to get in the way of anything. So we can copy those. Set visibility of myself to false, set physics enabled false. Alright. Now we want the spacebar to be able to create new clones, which will shoot out. Now the tricky thing with making clones, or copies of an object, is if those copies are then able to make other copies, you can have them exponentially growing. So start out with 1 copy, then 2, then 4, then 8, then 16, then 32. It would just get very, very large very quickly, and that incredible amount of objects would slow the game down and then crash it. So we don't want that happening. Now if you actually do want to see an object able to create copies of itself, and those copies are able to create copies of themselves, you can skip ahead to the end of the video where I'll demonstrate that and you can see how the game crashes. We want to make sure that only the bullet controller can make new clones. So how are we going to make sure that only the bullet controller can do that? Well, we will say that when the level starts, we will add a tag to the projectile. So we go to sensing, add tag, tag name on myself, and the tag name will be bullet controller. So that means when the level starts, there's only one of these objects in there that gets the tag. And when we create new clones, they don't get to run this because the level's already started. So there'll only be one bullet controller.